Okay, so I hope you guys can hear me okay. Dude, it is hot in this office. So first of all, let me apologize for the fact that the lighting might be a little bit off today. Usually I'll have like a big light in front of me, but it is really hot this week in the UK. And in the office here, it's just getting really warm in the middle of the day, right? So I'm actually I'm cooking in my own juices here, right? Which, yeah, nasty. So I did the daily video like about half an hour ago, and because I usually have this air conditioner going and the fan at full blast, and hey guys, how's it going? Like the fan at full blast, and I had to turn it off for the video, and I have it turned off now. So, and then I did like 4 takes of the video because I kept messing up, and then by the end I was sweating so bad I had like, you know, big splotches in my shirt and everything like that. So if you watch the video tomorrow, that's what it is. I'm just sweating profusely. So that's what I'm doing now too. So that's why I didn't turn the lights on. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing great. Hey, Rodrigo, second Rodrigo. Mega Man beat ya. Hey, Data Plus Code. Hey guys, hey, everybody's here. Janner Bros. Hey, how's it going? Data Plus Code title just changed. Oh, did it? What's up? Hey, Overpass Apps. Hey, True Dreams, how's it going? Nice shirt. Thanks. Yeah, you know what? Keep watching the shirt. You're gonna see like moob sweat, like under my yeah, whatever. It's just like this shirt goes from being, hey, it's a nice comfortable shirt, to being a dish rag throughout the course of the day. And I know some of you guys live in countries that are way hotter than it is here. Like, you know, I did a video, I think it was yesterday. I think the video went out yesterday. I was saying how people in England always complain about the hot weather and how I love the hot weather. But when I'm in the office for the afternoon, it is boiling. And it's been this way for like, well, a couple weeks now. And I really do like it. Like last week I did the live stream from that pub, and you know, so I was outside. I was sweating so bad by the end of it, you know, that you know, it was really, but it was nice. So Mega Man, does my office have air conditioning? No, I brought an air conditioner from home. So I bought one for the old office. And the reason I moved into this office, one of the reasons was because the other office got so hot, especially with the computers and everything. Like everything slows down, you know, and everything. So I brought in the air conditioner from there. So I've been using that a couple days this week, but it is loud. Like it's just a constant background noise. So I switched it off. So let's see, Portugal is way hotter. I know. I complained to my team in the Philippines, like, you know, we have our daily call, and I'm like, you know, it's really hot over here. And I know, like over there it gets like 42 degrees, and here it was like 28. I mean, it wasn't that bad. So, but it's still. But to be honest with you, I did go out to lunch and go sit outside someplace and everything. So it's not so bad, and it's nice to do the videos outside every day. You know, so I try not to do all of them outside because I don't want you guys to think I'm never working, right? So I do some outside, some inside, and you know, take the car out and everything like that, and that's, you know, that's kind of cool. So so True Dream says, today gonna be the short live stream or the normal live stream? Let's see. Hey, Drew Bajati, how's it going? So yeah, so like every time I don't expect to do an hour, but like last week was a half an hour, and that's because I was, you know, again, I was outside. There was all these other people sitting around and everything like that. And then the week before, I think we did an hour and a half, and then we did an hour before that, and an hour the week before that, and we've just been, man, we're just gonna work this live stream thing to death. So Janner brother say, waiting for your live stream since last week live. Really? Oh, cool, awesome. Well, yeah, if you have any questions, I'm not, again, I go into the live stream, and I think the first live stream I thought I better think of a topic so that we have a theme to talk about, but then we just completely deviated from that. So same today, I don't really have a lot to talk about, you know, so we'll, if you have any questions or anything, if you want to look at your apps, we could do that. And again, I'm not an expert, so we'll all look at it together. And you know, what the nice thing about this week, it was 4th of July, right? And every year I try to do something, I always say I'm going to do something special on the 4th of July or on Thanksgiving, because neither one of them is celebrated here, and they just pass me by. And this year I thought I'm going to take the 4th of July off and do something good. And then of course I had a meeting scheduled, which I'd forgotten about, and you know, and then I had like a school, like I take one of my kids to a school thing in the evening, so it was like, so I didn't really do anything for 4th of July, but my heart was there. Let's see. Uh, Drew Johnny, you should come to India. You will burn. I know, man. Okay. I am a. All right, you guys, you made your point clear. I'm a wuss, right? I just can't handle it. In fact, Sandy, even California is like over 100 degrees, like when you go further inland, and it's just, but I really enjoy it. Of course, I think the difference is that, like, California. It's in California, Las Vegas, Nevada, like Arizona, Nevada, all those places where it gets really hot. They have air conditioning everywhere, right? And over here, we don't really have the hot weather that often, so they're not really prepared for it. It's only like a few days out of the year, maybe a couple of weeks out of the year. I know that a lot of other places probably don't have any air conditioning at all, so you just put up with it. But I guess I'm a wuss, I'm a wimp. What can I say? But let's see. Let's see. Oh, my camera flickers a lot. Yeah, Mega Man. It's because of the lights. Because it's the fluorescent lights. I could try to shut them off and see if that's any different. I could do that. Let's see. It's because I'm using the webcam instead of the normal camera. I mean the other camera. So, Jobs Muhammad says, "Hello, Eric. Is it possible to use VMware to develop for iOS, or getting a Mac is a must?" This is this is a really good question, because my whole thing was I didn't want to buy a Mac at all. I was looking into the Hackintosh thing. I've seen other people do VMware Hackintosh, and in the end, I just thought that I wasn't sure if that would be reliable enough, so I did get a Mac. And when I ordered a Mac, I thought, well, this will be kind of cool. I mean, everyone was always talking about how cool Macs are. Oh, we're all like designers and stuff. Yeah, the Mac, it just works. You guys with your Windows, blah, 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 right? And then I got a Mac, and I played around with the hardware was so cool. It was like, ooh, it's shiny. It's like, and then I had the command control thing where it switched around. So like you're so used to doing, Control C, Control V, whatever, all the shortcuts, that switched around on a Mac, and it drove me crazy. And I nearly sent it back like within a couple of days, because I thought it's just ruining my game too much. I don't need to do iPhone. Screw iPhone. So I'm not a big Mac fan, right? I think it's there's certain things that I really like about having a Mac, and I like the hardware. It's the same as the iPhone, right? I don't like the iPhone. I mean, I have an iPhone, and I really like the hardware. I like the nice camera. I like it's so sleek and nice, but then it has iOS on it. So like I can't do anything. And in my car, my biggest gripe is in my car, I used to have my Android, and I was doing like Google Play Music, which I use. I have all my playlists and everything set up, and you can just say, "Okay, Google," and then play whatever Buffalo Stance by Nina Sherry, or whatever happens to pop into my head, and it will play it. And the Siri will only play things that are in my iTunes library. So it's like, and I keep looking at it, so yes, Siri doesn't support Google Play Music, and it's just a pain. I mean, and the only reason I have an iPhone is because my testing iPhone, which is an iPhone 5, which is around here somewhere, doesn't support iOS 11. So when iOS 11 came out, it was like, do I buy a new expensive testing phone, or do I just maybe I'll just make the iPhone my main phone for the next year or so. And since I've done it, there's certain things I like about the iPhone, and there's certain things that I just don't. And I guess I'm more of an Android fan than an iPhone fan. Surf Topic. Hey, Surf Topics. Surf Topics is related to me. 108 degrees today in Santee. What are you doing in Santee? So let's see. So yeah, no, the VMware thing. I mean, if there was a way to do it, see, the thing is, I think if there was a way to do it, like, and you weren't afraid that, my whole thing about doing a Hackintosh was I'd be afraid that, like, Apple would crack down on it, and then I wouldn't be able to do anything with it. And that's the reason I got a Mac. And I've gotten used to the Mac since then. And at the time when I first got the Mac, I was a contractor, and I was doing SharePoint development. So I needed a Windows platform. So I was always running VMware, running SharePoint on VMware. That's the reason. So I got a 16 gigs of memory, and it was using half the hard drive on the stupid virtual machine to run a Windows instance. And everybody was saying, oh, the Mac, sorry to badmouth Mac. I know there's a lot of Mac fans out there, and it's just really nice hardware, and the software, I like OS X, but I think a lot of the things I like about it is it's so much like Linux. So like when I go back to Windows, like for whatever reason, I have to go do some Windows stuff. It bugs me that I can't just paste into the terminal. Right? I can't paste into the command window. I have to right click and paste, and that's just one of those little things that bugs me. So so that's just me, and maybe they've changed since then. I don't know, but I have like since my employee left, I do have a Windows 10 PC here in the office, which I need to go and just play around with it a little bit more. Let's see. True Dreams asks, hey Eric, you say you translated your app into 20 languages and it tripled the downloads. Does it also triple your revenue? Yeah, it did. I mean, it did because it wasn't so much in the different countries, because the different countries in terms of revenue were like, you know, lower ECPMs. But I think it just getting all those users in, it started to increase the Google ranking, and it started to show up a lot more in search, and that did a quick one. Janner Brother Gaming says, just a quick question, Eric. So, how to find a client for selling our developed app? So this is an app you've already developed and you're looking to sell it? Quick question, are you doing it like you just want to sell it as do you want to sell it as a service, or do you want to sell the code to the app? Like, so once it's gone, or do you want to like sell it as we have this application and it might be useful for your business to become a subscriber, that kind of stuff? Because I mean, both of those would be good. The to do it like as a service would be awesome. I mean, I think we have a client that they set up their software as a service, and we built it for them, and they had all the Stripe integration and the recurring payments and everything like that. And I was so jealous of it, because we need something like that. We need more that passive revenue and everybody coming through. But so in terms of finding clients, that's a really good topic, and people have been asking me about that a lot, and it's something that preoccupies a lot of my time. So, you know, there's lots of ways that you could find clients. I think the biggest thing, so you got inbound and outbound. So you got outbound, which is cold calling and reaching out to them. It's getting harder with the GDPR thing in terms of the email and stuff like that. But you got social media, LinkedIn. Since GDPR, LinkedIn has become a lot more important for us. You know, using LinkedIn Sales Navigator to find the prospects that you want. I mean, once you find your target clients, if it's companies, you think who's going to be making the buying decision? Is the CTO or the CEO of that company? And then can you reach out to them? You know, we would always do something where we do cold emailing them. So we would just find the email address and send those out. And we have like this nice little system going. But with GDPR, I don't think we're allowed to do that anymore, so we stopped, and now everything's kind of stopped. So so that's the outbound, and then you got the inbound stuff, which is putting content out there, making sure people can find you, whether it's through advertisements or social media or, you know, search queries and everything like that. So I don't know if that helps answer your question. So follow up if you have another question on that. So Antonia Ruff says, what kind of ways do you use to advertise your app? So you could do that. You could do advertising. So the goal of using ads to advertise your app is just to get it in front of the people you want to. So I mean, it's like a shortcut. So like if you've built up a social media following, or if you were able to do, what is it called, influencer marketing, where you find somebody to promote it for you, then what you're doing is you're putting it in front of people. And the same thing is, that's what advertising is. So you pay for advertising to do that in a non-organic way, which is a shortcut. So like if you haven't been building up a social media thing and everything like that, then you can. So you want to do it. For me, it's always been getting the lowest possible ECPM. So when we have done the campaigns, I originally was doing Facebook. And Facebook is really good because you could target specifically who you want to target, right? And you get the analytics back, and you can do lookalike audiences, everything like that. But I was finding like a £1 or $1, I think $1 £1 cost per install, which is too much when you're making like 20 cents per, or not even 20 cents. You're making like 2 cents per user. So you're just like, it doesn't really work out. A lot of the people you hear talk about using Facebook ads to promote their apps are talking about the lifetime value of the user. So, you know, it depends on how you monetize. And my apps don't monetize all that well in terms of in-app purchases, more in terms of ads. And ads are per user a lot lower. So you need to get significant revenue from advertisements, you have to get a lot of users. And that's typically more than the advertisement does. So you have to think about other ways to do it. So yeah, Facebook was too expensive, so we went with AdMob, because I would go in on AdMob and create some campaigns, and I would put like the lowest cost per impression or cost per click I could, which was like 1 cent or 2 cents, and I would do like 2 cents, and if we weren't getting any impressions, then I would upload it to 3 cents, and put like a low budget per day. And think about AdMob is it takes that budget per day and it does it over the course of the month. So like if you say my budget per day is like $5, right, and then the first day is like $8, you're like, oh my, it went over, but then like the next day it's supposed to average out over the course of the month. So $5 for the month would be what? 5 times 30. Well, yeah, you do the math. What, $150? So that's what it does. But that's one way to do it. But then of course what you're doing, the whole thing about the bidding, you're bidding on the cost per click. So it's gonna send it to. There's always people out there who, oh, hey, Surf Topics, thank you very much. So there's always going to be. There's so much inventory out there. There's so many applications. It's going to show up somewhere. And again, we talk about, I did a video about this a few months ago where I was really upset about somebody saying, can you use this virtual, if you use a, was it not a virtual machine, a virtual host? Why, I'm blanking on this. What is it? The proxy server. If you use a proxy server to do fake clicks, can they catch you, right? And my whole thing was, if you pay for advertisements, you hate people who fake click or who self click, because basically they're stealing. There's like, every time someone clicks on an ad, even in the early days, I was saying, you know, please click on the ads, right? Because I didn't really know, and then that was like against the terms and conditions, so I removed that, and I don't need to do that because, you know, people are gonna do that, and you know, what you don't want is fake clicks. And it's strange about advertisements and apps because a lot of the times, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. If I'm rambling, sorry about that. A lot of the times we compare it to advertisements in television. So television is free because we pay for ads. Now but it's different because if you watch an ad on television, it doesn't take you away from the television. You just watch it passively. You don't click on something and go to another show. But with the ads in your applications, you do. It does take you someplace else and takes you out of the experience. So there's differences there. Let's see, and 108 degrees in Santee. See, I lived in Santee for a year. So it was Santee is it's on the outskirts of San Diego. Not a good time. When I talk about high school bullies or junior high bullies, I always think about that school in Santee. Chet F. Harrod. Let's see. David DeMole says, what's your opinion of MBAS AWS Mobile Hub versus Firebase? I have never used, sorry David, it's not a really good answer, but I've never used Mobile Hub. I've only used Firebase, and I really like the Firebase. I mean, I really enjoy using it. I've also used, what's the one, there's an Azure one too, Azure Mobile Hub, which we use for a client, and that was, I mean, that was okay, but I didn't like the fact that it's this, you know, just sets up everything. And I think I'm just like, even just the AWS Mobile Hub, because I've heard so much of Firebase. There's so much, and it might just be because my blinders are on and I haven't looked into that area. But my assumption is that there's more documentation on Firebase. And you know, if you had like, so let's say you're working on your application and it really takes off, and you need to hire another developer to work on it. Is it going to be easier to find somebody who knows Firebase, or is it easier to find somebody who knows that? Unless there's a reason like strategic, that like you're doing it for a client or something, and there's a reason that you go into that niche, then that might be better for you because there's a lower barrier for entry in Firebase. But you know, I think if it does what it does, I mean, that's just my opinion based on not even knowing, not ever having tried the AWS Mobile Hub. So let me know if I'm you know, if I'm full of it, just let me know. You won't be the first one to say so. Let's see. Surf Topic says I could change the frames. Sorry, I'm way behind on the questions. I could change the frames per second on the camera to stop the flickering on future vids. Okay, cool. Rodrigo says, same. I hate the fact that Apple keeps everything closed. I need freedom. Freedom. Janner Brothers Gaming says, what about Mac model for working? I'm planning to buy a Mac, so it will be useful for me to know before buy one. There's another option, which is Mac in Cloud. So you can set up a Mac in Cloud instance to do, which is basically like a virtual machine in the cloud. So you could go there and do that. So if you could do all your, so we did that. We were working on a project internally where we wanted to do remote compilations of Mac apps. So we purchased a Mac in Cloud, and we set up like a web service on it so that we could just submit the code, it would build it and give back the IPA. But that might be something you could do too, because really, especially if you're doing something like Ionic and Cordova, you only need the Mac for that last build part, right? It's just, I mean, it's like the amount of time I use Xcode for Cordova is like as hardly ever. I do most everything in WebStorm. WebStorm is my tool of choice for JavaScript, and I know there's Atom and there's all these other things, but I like WebStorm, and I like all the JetBrains tools because I could jump from WebStorm to Android Studio or to IntelliJ or to even rather than use Xcode, they got the one dot code, which is kind of weird, but at least you got the same shortcut keys and everything like that. You got a consistent interface between them. So I mean, but you're just talking about that one last step, and they've got the what's it, PhoneGap build, and I know Ionic has their own build service. But if you try something like Mac and Cloud, that might solve it. At least you could see, like, you could do it for like a month and pay like £20 or something. Sorry, it's $20. I don't know I forgot what it costs. I think it was, maybe it was, $20 a month or something. But yeah, if you have a look at that, that might be better for you, Janner Gaming, just to see what you can do. And you're like, dude, this, like, if it's like too slow, then you just say, dude, this is too painful, then I'll go get another one. I'll go get my own Mac. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just I'm way behind on the questions here. Let's see. Risab says, what do you think about Firebase? Should I use it for big Android projects? I think I'm really a big fan of Firebase. I think it's, and again, I was burned by Parse, and every time I compare Firebase to Parse, everyone gets mad at me because they're not the same thing, but it's just because you're not using your own thing. But it makes sense to use something that can get you up and running quick, and Firebase handles, you can have the database, you can have file storage, you could have push notifications, authentication, all that stuff, and it's all it's not even just that, it's the ads. There's just everything goes through Firebase, and you can upgrade to another version. And even if you had to write your custom code, you could write cloud code. So we have a project that we did where I wrote some cloud code for it, which connects to a MySQL database. And so like when it submits to the real-time database in Firebase, it would also trigger off a submit to a MySQL database, so I could do reporting off a separate system, and then that becomes my main backend API rather than writing an Express node thing that will just, that will do like a REST API and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm a really big Firebase fan, but like I haven't used some of the other stuff, like I said. So Mega Man says, I've heard good things about Facebook, but I've never got around to it. I use Google AdWords, and I can get installs as low as 5 cents or 5 pence CPI. Yeah, that sounds much better. Yeah. So let's see. Well, obviously, let's see. Best method for Android development. Ashwi, I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean like which tool, or do you mean which language? Dubrjadi Das says, I saw an app from you in Play Store relating to Bengali language to learn Bengali, which is a regional language in India. The app is nice. Thanks. I think this is one of the things I was working on this week. I forgot to tell you. So at one point I just thought I just need to get these language games done. So I removed all the free versions of them because of the GDPR stuff. And then I put Apple in there, but the Apple form. I did a video about this, and like everybody hated that. Like the rankings, the ratings on all of them went like really low. So I just unpublished all of them. But I still got people who had the app and it was still getting updated. They're saying it doesn't work anymore. So I've been going through and just updating those, and that's one of the things I need to do. And it's just like, because they're all, I need to go through and just make the list and sit there, and it's such a like a rote thing. And I think I could give this to someone else to do, but it's like I would have to show them how Corona works and compiling it and uploading it, and they wouldn't know Fastlane. I mean, I could find somebody to do that, but I think it's just the kind of thing where I'm just gonna sit down, make a large pot of coffee, put a box set DVD on one of the monitors, and just crank them out. So that was one thing I did. So thank you very much, Surf Topics, for the $4.99. Thank you. Let's see. Victor Kuzumov says, what are some online business ideas for programmers except YouTube? Some online business ideas for programmers. Just loads of there's loads of business ideas out there. I mean, there's loads of opportunities, and even if there's something that's already being done, you could do it better. I mean, if you look at some of the stuff that's out there, you know, and you look at the interface, everything's changing and everything's evolving. Years ago, I remember working on, I was working in an investment bank, and I was called in to work on this one, no, it wasn't to work on it, it was to support this one application, which was for the FSA, which is a Financial Standards Authority, I think, here. So it was a big deal, and the FSA had written this program and sent it down there, and it was terrible. It was written in Microsoft Access, and I don't mean like with Access as a back end. It was just Access. It was Access with Access forms in it, and it was really bad. I couldn't believe at the time, because it was such an old thing, right? And there's so many things that just get old really fast, right? You talk about, you look at some of the app, like take a look at an app that was done when the App Store started 8 years ago, and I'm sure you can find things out there. And also you can find business owners that are fed up with their current application and probably want to revamp it. So I mean, there's loads of things out there. Overpass rocks, yeah. Mega Man 2016 says, Eric, do you write your own terms and conditions, privacy policies for GDPR? No, I didn't. I actually went through and I went to a service that I paid for it. I think I paid like 90 pounds for it. I did one for the website, and I did one for the apps, and all the apps go to the same privacy policy page. And I did one for each of them, and they were like identical. It was like I paid more than that. And then I was thinking, why can't I just go to another website and just copy what they did? So like, you know, you just copy mine. I mean, it's pretty generic. I just went on there and did that. So, but don't sue me if you get in trouble for something. But that's what I did. I paid for something. It was mainly because I didn't think that I hate dealing with legal documents. I just can't, I just can't do it. And anyway. So, Drubajati Das says, Eric, can you give some idea about how you develop Bengali or any other language learning app you have created? So this is one of the things that I get in trouble with Apple, is because when we did the language learning app, I specifically wanted to do it as a framework. So like all the data gets stored in a certain way. We were using XML, but we should have been using JSON. So eventually we transfer everything over to JSON, and we have the audio files recorded in a certain way so that we could just change the images and reskin it for the different versions, which is fine. It works really well for Google Play, but after a while, Apple started saying you need to combine all of these language games into one language game. And again, I've complained about this so many times in the videos before. It doesn't work because what I'm trying to do is think about what people are looking for. So if somebody's looking for Bengali, a game to help them learn Bengali, they're not going to search for a generic language learning app, right? And so like a developer who does a Bengali only game and has no other apps in their app store, they are going to do better than me because they're able to focus on that, and I can't because Apple's saying, no, you got to combine all these. And it didn't make sense from a marketing point of view, and that's one of the reasons why it's been pulled from the Apple Store. On the Android side, it does work pretty well, and it is just a case of having it as a framework and building it that way. And so you have to code everything with strings that could be swapped out. And also, if you look at those games, Bengali, for example, it's done in English, Chinese, traditional and simplified, Russian, Korean, and Portuguese, and Spanish. So like we actually went through and had those strings translated into all those other ones. So a lot of the times, so those games actually did a lot better because people are finding it from all over, and that's also helping the ASO because they're leaving reviews, and it's helping the overall ranking, even though the reviews are only in the language of their choice of their country. So let's see. ChordFunk says, have you had a chance to test out Cloud Functions? Also, what's your thought about the serverless architecture? Yeah, Cloud Function, that's what I was doing. Because Cloud Functions, if you haven't tried them, they're just like Node.js, right? You're writing everything in JavaScript. You're doing it on local machines, so you can run everything locally and connect to it locally. And it's still connecting to the backend real-time database. So you could do things like you have a trigger to the database, so every time something gets updated. So like so I'm talking too fast. Your mobile application can update, like work with the real-time database, but you have triggers that go off, and then just so that will say like every time this gets updated, if you have something else that needs to happen, it can happen after the fact, or you can write your REST function so that it just calls that REST function, and that updates the real-time database and does everything that it needs to do. So I think that's why I think it's really cool. The only thing is that I had to upgrade to the Flare version, which is like $25 a month in order to do external calls from Cloud Functions. Like I wrote all the code and it worked on my local machine fine, but when I uploaded it to the server, I found I have to upgrade. So that was just to have remote access from Cloud Functions. You have to have the Flare version. Let's see. Yeah, it is dirt cheap. Let's see. Christopher Onubugo says, Onuigbo. I'm sorry, Christopher, if I'm saying that wrong. Hey, Eric, what do you think is a good ranking range for keywords? For example, 1 to 11 is good. 2 to 11 to 23 is okay. 23 is over is bad. Which ranking are you talking about? Is that in a specific tool or something like that? Is that an R tool, or is that? I'm not. Yeah, if you let me know, or is it in Google Keywords tool? Mega Man 2016 says, what are the main points you visit daily on Firebase? So I look at the crash reporting, and then I also look at the stream. And the stream doesn't really tell me anything, except it makes me feel like, yeah, people are on it. So I can see, where people are what they're looking at. And also, what else do I look at? I look at and this, I don't do this daily, but every so often I'll go through and see, the amount of purchasers and everything like that. So, and I believe, let me know if I'm wrong about this, like, because you're using Firebase to track the people who are making in-app purchases, you can also use that in universal app campaigns to generate like lookalike audiences. So it uses that and machine learning to find other people who are likely to make purchases. So you can actually specify that if you use a universal app campaign, which is something we should have mentioned earlier, you can go through and specify, I want people who are likely to make in-app purchases, or people who are likely to make purchases, because it can tell based on all the data that it has. Let's see. Tech with Me says, hello, sir. Hey, how's it going? How much you earn? I've talked about that quite a lot. So there's a couple videos where I talk about how much I earn from apps. So if you have a look, it's called How Much Money Can You Make with Apps, or my app revenue report. So yeah, that's at the moment. It's like 100 pounds a day. So it's lower than it has been. So like last year, the goal was 150 a day, and now it's like 100 a day, and that's mainly because of the Apple stuff that I removed. So it's something I got to go back on there. Let's see. Cordfunk says, I use my Mac to watch Netflix. The workflow is terrible. Just splitting the windows is painful. Miss my Windows shortcuts. Yeah. I really like I like working with Windows, but like I said, if I ever move away from Mac, I want to try Linux. I want to be like because it just seems like that would be like alpha coder, no, I use Linux. Oh, Windows, pff. But then every time I've used Linux a few times in the past, and I just get frustrated that I can't do like most of what I want to do. So let's see. David DeMol says, how do you like the Firebase versus MySQL? It depends. So this is a very good question, because it's something very relevant to something we work with on one of our projects for a client. MySQL is really good for transactional like reporting. So like Firebase is mainly it's like a NoSQL database, so everything's stored as JSON. So which is cool for like a lot of things, and there's benefits to both. So MySQL and SQL Server and all that, they're relational databases. So you set up tables and everything, and Firebase is a lot like MongoDB, where it's NoSQL. So you just add whatever you want onto it, and you're basically storing JSON documents there, and you could run queries off of them and everything like that too. And it's a little less flexible, like just to do simple things like a like query. We were doing something where we just want to do a like query, and it was so hard to do, right? And so it was just like we had to get an Elastic server, and it was just, and I couldn't believe it wasn't possible. And I keep thinking, and I knew that had to be wrong, right? I just knew it did. I just want to say, so when somebody's typing in an autocomplete box, I want it to show everything that contains that thing. So I just wanted like it contains, or it's like this, whatever. And we just couldn't do it. It was like really, really hard. So so that's something. And we have another one where we need to have like show like per transaction something that's happening. So we want to be able to drill down into the detail. And in a NoSQL database, I mean, in that kind of situation, it was better to have MySQL. So this is this was a situation where we use Cloud Functions, so that we think, so on this transaction, I want to have, in the real-time database, I want to have everything that's current, but I want to have the audit history I want to have it in a MySQL database because it's easier to query, right? That was my whole thing. And there may be somebody out there who says, actually, Eric, you're a moron. You could query that just fine in a NoSQL database. But for me, it was just easier to handle it that way. So I can have other reporting going on. It was easier to export it to CSV and everything like that. And more importantly, it was easier to show a client how to run that query. So that's where I stand. So they're both good. I'm still, and it might just be teaching an old dog new tricks, is I still like using the relational databases for me. So Amino Sma, hey, how's it going? Hi, sir. How do you find members for the team? So this is like, I talked about this before in a video where I talked about hiring people, and I've been through so many that I have a couple people on my team that are been with me for years, and they were hard to find. So I honestly think you have to go through a lot of people to find a good person. So, it's just, you can ask all the technical questions at the beginning, but your interview is only going to be so accurate, and then you get somebody starting, and then it's whether or not you work well together. So for me, I always start, and I'm always hire people remotely. Although I did have an employee a few months ago, or who left about a month ago, I guess. And so I hire remotely, and usually I'll hire for like 1 week at a time. And for me, I always pay at the beginning so that they know that they're going to get paid, because as a freelancer, you always know that your biggest fear is that you're not going to get paid for the work that you do. So I do that in advance, and sometimes they really let me down, and or they just can't do it. Sometimes there's different reasons. Sometimes they're not technically can't do it. Sometimes they're not assertive enough, right? I'm not assertive enough, so we don't need two of us being not assertive enough. So they'll be like a good example is I hired somebody, and I wanted them to work on an app that we have that's like, I want you to take this over for me because I've done all the work on it. I really need some help on this. And I said, here's the Git repository, and they said they couldn't get Git to work, and they said it only downloads half the code in Git. I don't know why. And I was like, okay, okay, well, contact somebody, do something, like figure it out. And after a week, nothing had happened. He was waiting for me to fix it. I was like, dude, why am I going to troubleshoot this? This was one of the things where I just like, you're not capable of doing this job. That was one of the things. And it was just, and also I was irritable at the time, probably for some other reason, but so that's hard. And I think I use a website called onlinejobs.ph, just hiring people in the Philippines. The ideal person for me is somebody who wants to work from home, could work for less but work from home, but has the flexibility and the freedom of doing all that. I'm not really all that concerned about somebody who needs to have, who needs to look professional, right? Like if we have a team call and there's like children in the background or a dog barking, I don't care, right? People work where they're comfortable, right? So that's the ideal for me. And occasionally I'll use Upwork, but with Upwork you have to understand that the person you're hiring, out of necessity, because you're only hiring them out as a part-time basis, they have to find other jobs too, and sometimes they can be overloaded with other stuff, and you're doing a lot of waiting for them to come back. So I hired full-time people from online jobs, and people say, why don't you just hire part-time and all this stuff, and we go back and forth on that. So Easy Life says, hello from Australia. Hello. Like, how's it go? Boy, yeah, I'm not going to complain about the heat anymore because I know you guys all come from really hot places. Let's see. Jobs Muhammad says, are there any advertising companies that pays close to AdMob? Good question. I'm always getting hit by I'm not getting hit, but I'm getting contacted by companies saying, go with us. And it's been a while since I've tried any other ad networks, just because every time I do, I'm disappointed. Like there's one called Ogre, who they send me emails all the time, and they say, yeah, we can give you guaranteed $12 ECPM or 12-pound ECPM, and but they only serve certain countries, like 2 countries, and I'm like, well, like the UK and Spain or something, and I'm like, that's like a small part of my audience, and I don't want to pull that out and everything. So that's why I still stick with AdMob. And if somebody could tell me definitively that going to another ad platform would do that, then I would do that. But every time I've tried, I have not seen the results. I've just been disappointed. Let's see. Drubajati says, how to market an app you have developed being a developer since you don't have enough investor channel. Well, that's the whole problem. I mean, that's the whole problem, and that's the problem everybody faces. I mean, it's not just developers. It's I guess singers and dancers and writers and authors. And you have to start thinking about how you're going to do that. And this is the whole thing with me was I release an app and then I think, oh, nobody's downloading. I think that's all I have to do, because once people see how great it is, and they're just going to stumble across it, like I don't need to reach out and get it in front of people. And it's kind of it's a shock. It was a shock to me, and it was to some of my clients too, where I say, hey, you know what? And I'll tell them every time, developing the app, that's the easy part. I have the easy part. Your part is going to be trying to get people to find it and download it, and thinking in terms of who is your target audience and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's a deer in the headlights, and it goes live, and what do I do? And then it's like, well, you can do ads, you can do all this other stuff, but so like if you do have a budget for advertising, then that's good. But again, like I said, that's a shortcut. How do you get it in front of people? How could you, what can you do? What are people searching on that they would find your application? What is it similar to another app that other people might be interested in? Is it so thinking about those kind of things. Some things that we've done in the past, we're always putting things out on Instagram. We're always putting different content out. I'm thinking about who are our target audience, what kind of stuff are they into, and also there was a point in when I did EarSpy early on. It was just like it was doing okay, and I started thinking, I started thinking about what are my customers like, what are the users like, and I thought it was maybe kind of irreverent, maybe kind of the creepiness of it. So we changed a lot of the language on it. We said we put on the banner advertisement saying like, warning, eavesdropping could result in hurt feelings and all this stuff. And somebody said to me, "You're really embracing the creepiness of this." And I said, yeah, in a way I kind of was. I was trying to think who they were, in my mind, who they were, and how could we emphasize that. So like, and if you have an idea who your app, like if your app is geared towards automotive fans or something like that, what other things would they be interested in that you could use some of those keywords in your stuff, and just sort of without violating copyright and stuff like that. Let's see. Amino says, thanks for sharing. Hey, no problem. Easy Life says, after I got burned by Parse, I don't want to hear about platforms like Firebase. Dude, I'm exactly the same way, right? Part of me is like, it's going to be this fool me once, shame on me, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Like if Firebase has if they do that, I'm going to feel like a real idiot. And that was with Parse. We had a few applications where I just took it off the market. It was one called CanText where I just went full on Parse. So I was like, because I went to this app seminar in London, and Facebook was there obviously, and this was like months before they announced it. It wasn't like years, it was like months, and they had a big Parse demonstration saying, you'd be an idiot not to use Parse. It does everything for you, right? And so like I'm thinking, you know what? I am an idiot not to use Parse. And then so we wrote this whole application using everything, using authentication, using the storage, using push notifications, everything, and then they announced that it was closing, and I had like a year to change it, and it wasn't really making enough money to do it. And I'm thinking, and then so I just let it die. I think I unpublished it a few months before Parse closed down, but I still had users complaining who were using the app every day. But it was a small group of people, but still, like it was like these emails that I felt bad about, but it felt bad. Video breaking. Oh, is a video going out? Let's see. Rodrigo, I use Linux daily, and I don't consider myself an alpha coder. I don't know. There's something about opening it. I used to joke when I was working in an investment bank that it was much cooler to open up a command window and just start typing stuff in. Like when you're at somebody's desk and you're like, let me fix that for you. To do that rather than open up the GUI and do it just because it made you look like, like a hacker or something like that. But hey, Mr. White, I have apps outside Google Play without GDPR. Is there any problems if I didn't update them? Well, GDPR is not a Google Play thing. So it's like even Google Play I don't think will give you a hard time for not doing GDPR. It's more of a legal thing. So yeah, it's just, so yeah, I mean, you could have problems, but to be honest with you, I don't think it's that likely, right? For me, we removed it because I don't know why. The penalties for violating GDPR are really high, but I'm sure there's lots of people doing it. I'm sure there's lots of people not adhering to it. Maybe AdMob might have some trouble with it. Like if they start if AdMob ever gets in trouble for it, or if Google ever gets in trouble for it, then they'll crack down on all developers. You have to have a consent form, or you have to pass in the has consent variable and stuff like that. But So far I don't think that's the case. It seems like Google's in the same boat with us. Everybody's in the same boat with us. Nobody really knows what to do, even though it's been a few months since then. So I mean, yeah, Mr. White, I would say I think you're probably okay, but don't sue me if I'm wrong about that. So Funk says, have you ever done anything with Stripe Payment Gateway or any other gateway to process transaction in your own projects or for some of your clients? For my clients, we didn't use Stripe. We used Braintree. I think it was Braintree. It was like the same kind of thing where it integrates with PayPal and credit cards and everything like that. And that was kind of cool. So let's see. Let's see. Christopher says, I mean, keywords like current ranking and Sensor Tower. Oh, yeah. And mobile action. So, yeah, I haven't used Sensor Tower mobile action in quite a while. It just seemed like the people who use Sensor Tower, they rave about how it is and how necessary it is. And every time I've used it, I've never really gotten a lot of benefit out of it. And it might just be that I don't have the time to sit down and learn whatever it is they want you to learn. It would be nice if they had better tutorials and this is how you use this and everything like that. But for me, it just seemed like it was expensive. It was paying about, I think, $80 a month for something that I would look at maybe once every week. And I wasn't getting a lot of use out of it. Now talk to somebody who's like a hardcore like Steve P. Young, for example. He always does a lot of videos on Steve P. Young App Masters. So check out his channel. And tell him I sent you. I interviewed him earlier this year. He talks about Sensor Tower a lot. He does a lot, pulls down a lot of reports, but he just does ASO. He doesn't do development. I'm kind of doing both sides of it, and for me, it was not worth it. So I haven't really used it a lot. So yeah, Mr. Neptune says, when you pay in the beginning, they lose some motivation. That's probably true. I pay in the beginning, but it's their job to lose. So especially when I pay like a week in advance, like if they don't produce in that week, they're not going to get the second week, and they're not. I mean, because it's going to be an ongoing thing, right? It's not like at the beginning of a 2-week project, like I pay for the 2 weeks. It's like for the beginning of forever. Like this is like you could just could be your job. You don't have to worry about payment anymore. So just to show you that, but yeah, it's probably is. Yeah, it might not be the best way to do it, but it's just kind of thing. So. Develop AS3 says, are you hiring Ionic or React Native dev these days? Mostly it's React Native. So I'm still, yeah, Ionic, we still do, we have some existing Ionic apps, and it would be nice to hire somebody who could take them over because it's me who does a lot of it. But mostly the new stuff we're doing is in React Native. But that's just, I mean, and again, I'm still always on the fence about whether or not we should go for Flutter, but I don't know any. It's either I learn Flutter and I do all the development myself, which is like, it's not going to grow the company, or we get somebody else who can learn how to do it. Hey, Rahi, thank you very much. Let's see. Mr. Neptune says, sorry if I'm behind. I'm way behind on the questions. So Mr. Neptune says, how much does it cost for you to make an app via Freelancer? I've never used Freelancer. I've used Upwork, and I've hired, the one time, I've only hired a developer to do an app, like a full app through Upwork once. And I hired a company to do a, because I thought this, I'll just get them to quote on it. And they quoted like really low, like $1,000 to do this app, which I thought it was really low. And they just, it was like weeks and weeks behind, and they were too busy with other work and they never got to it. And finally in the end they said, I'm sorry, we can't do it. And actually, no, there's 2 occasions where I did. And then I hired another guy to work on a project for a client, and he was like a deer in the headlights, and it was just, it just didn't work out. And I'm not saying that that's because it was Upwork. It's probably just because I hired the wrong guys. But it's for me, this is one of the reasons hiring a full-time person who could join the team. At least it's somebody I could depend on, and also that they know that they can depend on me. And I think that's a big part of it. So they know that if we work well together, then I'm going to make sure that they're taken care of, and they're going to make sure that I'm taken care of. So that's kind of my opinion on that. Like I'd rather have somebody who I could go to. So like, for example, if a client calls me up and they say we need this one thing, I don't want to have to go trolling through Upwork and say, yeah, sure we can, and just start looking for somebody for that temporary work. And the person who I used on the previous job, they're busy or whatever. I just want somebody there. So let's see. Let's see how much. Mr. Neptune says, how much does it cost you? Okay, so Cord Funk says, I know you said you like JavaScript, but have you had a chance to try out TypeScript in a project? I tried a little bit of TypeScript, and I've read through it, and I think it's like a learning curve, and I haven't gotten fully on board with TypeScript. I don't like the way that it transpiles into JavaScript. And it was the same with CoffeeScript. A lot of people were swearing by CoffeeScript in the day, and I think CoffeeScript was better for like Ruby developers. And I know TypeScript is a lot more like C# because it's typed. I mean, what it is, but I like using native JavaScript. I like the fact that it's dynamic, and you have an object, and you can just add a property to it at runtime and remove the property, and everything's just really, it's a nice flow to it. Rodrigo says, my AdMob revenue has been going down and down because of some bug that I can't figure out, and I've been thinking about working for others. My YouTube tech review channel has been doing better though. Cool. Yeah, working for others, like I said, when I have a bad day, that's what I did a video about this. When I have a bad day, that's why I start looking at the job pages. And, you know, I'm just gonna get a job. I haven't had a job in years. I mean a contract. I don't mean like a job, but I get like make it work in like a 6 months someplace. And then the idea of it, just, like I start playing it through my head. It's giving up the freedom that we have at the moment, because sometimes it could be really hard to get through the month. It's like it'd be really tight, and other months you're like, oh, everything is good, everything's going great. It all depends on the current projects and, you know, the payments and everything. So some months are really good, some months are struggling a bit, but it's having your own freedom to do what you want, and you know, and also just, you know, like if I took 6 months off to work a contract, it would be nice because I would have all this money coming in, but at the same time I would have to give up everything else. I would have to, you know, I'd probably not be doing the videos. I would not be it would not be working my own apps. Everything would just be trying to squeeze in the stuff that I care about around the stuff that I was doing for somebody else on a full-time basis. So yeah, let me know what you do there, Rodrigo, because yeah, I keep, you know, I don't plan on taking on another contract, but you know, you have those low moments where you're like, oh man, you know, just make my life easier for a while. You think about, God, when I was working in London, it was a drag, but you get on the train, go in every day, you have to like play the game, you know, like go to the meetings and everything. But at the same time, you went home and you're like, you know, you didn't have to think about it. And like when you're doing your own thing, you're always thinking about work. So Philip Games says, hello, hey, how's it going? Hey Rifa, you finally made the live chat. Thanks for the $5. Let's see. Duberjati says, Brazil versus Belgium. Who are you supporting? So as an American, I haven't been into World Cup, and everyone here is very excited about the fact that England is playing tomorrow night against another country. I think it's Switzerland or Sweden. I think I could be entirely wrong, but so like I may actually watch that. I might go to the pub and watch that, because that would be like a thing, you know. Everyone gets really excited, but I won't open my mouth because I don't want anyone to know that I'm not English, and I guess, I don't know, I'm just a poser. But it'd be kind of like, just to be around the excitement of it all, it would be kind of cool. But yeah, everyone's really, but I haven't been following the World Cup. Sorry about that. But you know, I'll follow the World Series later this year in baseball. Let's see. Rifat says, I am now in a low moment. Yeah, you know what? I was going to do a video about this, because I was watching something where somebody talked about the internet, the Instagram success people. Like when you look at everybody else on Instagram, they all look so successful. And I thought about it because I always do the videos in front of my car and stuff like that. And I don't talk about the low moments, but I also don't want to bring you guys down. But like sometimes you're just like, you're like, oh man, like especially, so like there's a bug in there's a client project and there's a bug in it, and you're just like, you think everything's going, I tested this like over and over again, and then this bug comes through and you're like, oh god, you know, and just like, and it's like, it just destroys your whole day. I mean, it's like, and it's not like, you know, it's just like you go, oh man, why am I, you know, if I just went on a job, I could just do this and all, but it's also you know, it's a bug. You fix it. You get through it. You might have to like apologize and everything like that, but you get through it, and you do. But we all have those really low moments, and especially those scary moments. It's those ones where you're like, you know, like you're just like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? I can remember like one of the first client projects we did, and I had a developer in the Philippines, one of the guys who's no longer with me, and he wasn't any after this project too. And he was like, "Oh yeah, everything's working." And he wasn't checking any of the code in. I was like, I need to see the code." He wasn't doing anything. And it turns out he wasn't doing anything for like 3 weeks. And it was like for an event, and we had this event approaching, right? And it was like a train wreck was approaching, and there was no way I was going to get out of it. That was my whole thing. I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" And I remember sitting there like and I was upset. Everyone was like really concerned about my family and everything. Was really concerned about me because I was in such a dumb thinking, what was I thinking I could take on client work? What was I thinking? Who am I to do this? And then it was like, and eventually I think I went out for a run, and I actually felt a little bit better after going out for a run, which sounds corny, and then I think I pulled a couple of all-nighters, and I wrote that thing from scratch. And it's funny how when you hired, like, because we know that there's how long things take and there's how long things take, right? So you know that if you were really committed, you can get something done in a week that could take months for somebody else to do, right? So that was that kind of situation. It was like, we're just going to charge through and do this, and I just worked through it. And it wasn't like I worked through it gleefully. I was like all mad. I should have done it, and everything I was doing, like pounding away at the keyboard. He should have done this. I can't believe he didn't do this, right? And then in the end, so he was gone, right? And and in the end I got through it. And there's always those moments like where you just think, God, this is, But then there's other moments where everything's working out really well, but your clients have to know that you always have their back, even if it's like, come hell or high water. If I have to pull it all night, this project will get done. It may, there may have been a bug or whatever, but you have to understand that I am not going to do that. You are going to be completely satisfied with this, and we're gonna do this. But yeah, there are times where you feel low, and there's times where you feel like, God, just this isn't working out. But I think it's just part of the roller coaster of it all. Because I could tell you what, when I was working in a contract, I remember days where I was just in the doldrums too. Like, it was just, I remember walking around this investment bank, and I'm like, just go outside. It's like, oh God, what am I doing with my life? Oh, something. I guess in my head I'm a bit of a drama queen, but you walking around. I would go outside for walks. Oh man, everything's working. But yeah, we all have those low moments. I hang in there. You could do that. Let's see. Rodrigo says, I won't go back to the 9-to-5 thing. I will work remotely to keep some freedom. Yeah, I think that's good. But you're still at the beck and call, of someone else. But yeah, that might not be so bad. Rifat says, being authentic is better. That's why we love Eric. Hey, thanks. Eric, did you read Anti-Fragility by Nassim Taleb? I've read the summary. So Anti-Fragility. I haven't read the book. But yeah, I think it was the other one you suggested was Crossing the Chasm. Is it Chasm or Chasm? And that was a lot more interesting to me, because I think in terms, and Crossing the Chasm was where they talk about how, well, the early adopters and the early adopters, early majority, whatever. So they talk about there's this chasm that you have to jump, where you got the people who are really technical, and they're just, they'll do whatever, and then you got the other people who don't quite see the point yet, and how can you translate into that, and also making it available more for the mass market. And when I was reading that, I kept thinking about how can we do the app development more for the mass market, because a lot of app development companies or just development companies out there are focused very much on the technical side. So I talk about this a lot. All the emails I get from software development companies, they'll say things like, we focus in this language, this language, this language, this language, but none of my clients ever really cared about the language. Some of them might, if they have an existing project, and sometimes they might have like a technical director there who says, oh, we want to use React Native or something. But most of the time, they want an app, they want something in the App Store, and they're looking for the recommendation of the best way forward, right? So if I tell them we do React Native, we do this stuff, like, they don't care, and it makes them feel like I don't get what they're saying. Like I'm telling them more information than they need to know. It's like when I get my car fixed, I hate it when they get really technical with me. I like it when they just, when they dumb it down, but they don't make it look like they're dumbing it down. So they make me feel better as a consumer, and I could just go in there and do that, and they handle it really well. Chasm or Chasm? Chasm? I'm wondering how it's pronounced. I know how it's spelled, but anyway, so that's, wow, did we answer all the questions? We did. Hey, Mega Man, thanks very much. Thanks for the daily vids. Have a cold beverage on me. Yeah, thanks. I might go out tonight. I think I might go out and yeah, enjoy some. So, Drew Bajati says, sorry, how did I miss some of these? Oh, I missed a bunch of questions here. Sorry about that. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, Rifat says, Eric, thanks for setting up the live chat. Sorry, I'm going to go back through and recover some of these. Has anyone ever been punished by GDPR yet? I don't think so. And I don't, I think it's one of these things where, I mean, we're running around a lot changing things. And even you get swept up in it. And part of me thinks, is it really even that big a deal, right? I mean, as long as we're not, I mean, the reason it's there is to protect the consumers. So as long as you give them the right options and everything, what really makes it difficult is the advertising thing for me. And it's not so much the reaching out and contacting people, it's the advertisement thing. So Rifat says, Eric, why don't you start a Patreon campaign? I don't know. It seems like, yeah, I don't understand enough about Patreon, but yeah, I hate asking for things. I think that's the thing. Philip Gaines says football's coming home. Yeah, the traffic scores and difficulty are BS on Sensor Tower. Yeah, I don't know how accurate Sensor Tower is. I think it's like it's a tool that they could be making up all the numbers for all I know, but it's probably not. But the fact that I don't think they have access that we don't have to something. So they probably have a bunch of web scrapers somewhere that are doing something, and I don't know how accurate that is. Eric, that guy is one of the fake gurus. Oh, is he? Which one? Oh, you mean, oh, who are you talking about, Rodrigo? So, are you talking about Steve? You think so? See, I don't know. See, when I think about ASO, a lot of people, when they contact me, say we can make your app #1, everything like that. They don't really back it up with like testimonials or something that says they can actually do it. So it's like in my head, I'm thinking I have my doubts. So same way somebody says we can get your first page on Google, like I know that they have tips and tricks, but it's not trick. You just need to make sure you're relevant, and that's the thing. Develop AS3 says, Eric, are you a Wimbledon fan? No, I'm not. I'm not. You know what? When I think of Wimbledon, I mean, even though it's like just what, 50 miles away or something, I don't know how far it is, but I've been out that way. And when I think about Wimbledon, I always think when I was a kid, Wimbledon would always come on at night, like at 11 or 11:30, and they would like preempt like the Tonight Show. So we're like not a kid, like 13, 14. I used to stay up really late at night, and sometimes they would move the Tonight Show back by half an hour. The Johnny Carson Tonight Show. That's how long ago we're talking about. And they would move it back because they would show Wimbledon highlights. And I used to think, oh, man, Wimbledon. So, but no, I'm not. So I haven't been. But I think if I got into it, I would. I just haven't, the only sport I've ever really been into is baseball. And even then, I have a hard time getting into it. Which maybe makes me less of a man because I'm not a sports guy. But one of my regrets, like when I moved out here, my kids growing up, I always thought, I need to take them to a football match one of these days. And I haven't done it. And I say it every year, and now they're all grown up and everything. Ali Hussein Dunia says, hey bro, can you make videos on learning Android and iOS both simultaneously? Should I go with first Android or iOS or both? If you're looking at doing both, I mean, have a look at something like Flutter or one of the hybrid frameworks, because you need to that might be able to do both for you, and so you can do both at the same time. iOS, I mean, Android has more market share, but iOS, people spend more money on iOS. So, I think the long game, personally, I believe the long game is Android is going to take over more than iOS is. I think iOS is losing its grip a bit, but that could just be bias on my side. But I mean, you definitely see what 80% market share or something on Android, something ridiculous like that. But again, but that's in a lot of countries where they don't spend a lot of money. In the U.S., there's still a lot of iPhone people. So. Duberjati says, we love Eric. Hey, thanks. Eric for Prez. Yeah, one. Yeah. Let's say, Eric, you should make some videos on programming. Like I said this before, there are so many better programmers out there than me. And I would do stuff that is just probably not as good as them. And, it's my fear is that I would do something on program. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do this. And somebody will say, actually, Eric, you should do this, this, this. And that would be like, a thing. So my fear, like when I'm writing code myself, I'm happy with it, and even sharing it with other developers, I'm fine with that too. It was very open and honest about you have that point. You could either be on both sides. You could be the slapdash cowboy where you just code everything away, spaghetti code everything like that, and get it out the door, which I worked with lots of people like that, and we've all been that point in the future. Or you could be the other side. A friend of mine, Mark, he's called it the Ayatollah of agile programming or something, like everything has to be unit tested and everything has to be this and well documented and everything like that, which for me it's kind of in between. Like you should have code comments, you should have documentation in there, you should have everything there too, but there's a point where you just have to go live. So I wonder whether or not, so that's why I fear that. Hey Tom, how's it going? Let's see, Patreon, we donate monthly. Oh really? I'll look into it, Rifat. I hate to ask for money and stuff like that, because it's just kind of fun talking to you guys. Let's see. You should take a look at a Nerds World channel. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, this is a question I wanted to ask. So I know we talk about apps all the time, but is there anything else that we should talk about? Because like a lot of times when I'll do a video, people will ask in the comments. So I'll ask about something that I've already talked about, and I try to find new topics and new things to talk about, but you know, I worry about running out of things. We're nearly at episode 400, so I think I recorded 397 today. So we're just about at episode 400, and for the last 100 videos at least, we haven't missed a single day. And I say we, but you know, it's so that was I'm pretty pleased about that. So let's see. Rifat says, Eric, why don't you invest more on language games and have more depth to the games, such as a storyline? I keep going back to that, and I think it's because I've been hit by the Apple side of things, where where you know they're just starting to stonewall me to release anything new, the thing I like about educational games, and my kids always say to me, Dad, why don't you make something fun? But I like, because I guess I'm not a big gamer myself, and I like the idea of learning something and something that aid in that. And when I was learning Chinese in the Army, it was really hard to find good resources to learn Chinese, right? We had our flashcards, and every book you found was a beginner's book, and I wanted something that was just better than flashcards and everything like that. So let's see. Rodrigo says, yeah, Steve can't even say his site straight. Last video showing himself in his villa. He has a villa? Wow, I'm gonna get a villa. Yeah, no, I've talked with Steve a few times. Well, yeah, I've talked with him a few times. I'm you know, that it's interesting what you say. Thanks, Rodrigo. I appreciate that. But I haven't actually used the service, I think. So let's see. Cord Funk says you should make a video with your top 10 books. That's a good idea. Yeah, that would be good. Let's see. Mr. Metu says, haha, your own kids don't think your app is fun. No, my kids hate my app. No, they like some of them. They like it was kind of fun. I think we did one app where I involved them in it, and it was kind of fun just to do it, where we came up with the concepts and everything. It was just nice for them to see how it's done. But yeah, they don't play them. You know, it's more like especially the language games are more to learn. Like learning Chinese characters is not like, I mean, it's just so much memorization. And we had the flashcards. When I was in the Army, we're always making these little flashcards. We're writing the characters on one side and the definition and the pinyin on the other, which is the romanization. And so we're just constantly going through these. And I want something that helps you do that, because looking at a Chinese character is not like you learn the alphabet and then you do it. You just got to learn the character. And some of the ones like Korean and Arabic, where it's a different concept, because we could have something there on the alphabet, but I didn't want to change it too much, because yeah. But probably should. And if one of them really took off like really well, then I would probably build those out a bit more. But I haven't really. So let's see. Matty JY2K says you should really go to the pub and watch the game tomorrow. I don't usually follow football, but the atmosphere for watching the World Cup in the pub is really exciting. Unless you in some rough pub. Yeah. I don't think. Well. That's what I'm thinking too. So like in the States, I never really watched American football, but like I would watch the Super Bowl because there was so much hype about it. And the other day, like everybody was talking about how England wasn't going to win. Like the match was it Thursday night? No, Tuesday night. And apparently the shootout and everything. I mean, I heard so much about it, and I remember, you know, I had my Toastmasters meeting, which was pretty sparse because everybody was at home watching the game. So I went to that, and then when I got home, I could hear people in the town, which is like a half mile away, people chanting and cheering, and it was like, and singing and everything like that. And it was like, wow, it's be kind of cool. And it would be really cool to see, to see it at a pub. It would be really cool if it's kind of like if it started a riot at the end, because I've never been in a riot, but I don't think that really happens anymore. That would be awesome. That's not gonna happen. In my wildest dreams, I want to have like let's go out there and destroy the town. Just hide in the crowd. Let's see. Riffet says your kids are right. Make a fun game, learning game, which is a challenge. Yeah, we should see the thing of okay. There's a thing about, and we talked about this a lot, like a learning game, which is fun and a challenge. You have to challenge the learning part of it, because if somebody has low finger coordination or something like that, you shouldn't penalize them really. But yeah, it should be fun there too. Like I've played learning games where they focus more on something that was not the learning part. So like it didn't really matter how good you got at the subject, it was more something else. So it was like, you putt a golf ball into the hole and then you answer a math question or something like that. I remember doing something, and it was like you're not even testing that thing. So, but yeah, you're right. So let's see, my daughter only likes the apps that are entertaining. I know most, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're probably right. And this is one thing, we talk about game developers. I think I'm more on the app side. We do some games, but when we talk about real gamers, like real game developers, and a lot of you guys are real game developers, like you're just constantly thinking about it and building these things. And I think it's probably, I always assumed it's like writing a novel, like because you're in there and you're doing it, and when you do stuff for clients, there's so much planning that goes in beforehand. And I would imagine that if you're a game developer, especially as an indie game developer, where you could just go through and see where the story takes you, I mean, that sounds a lot more fun to me. But let's see. Who will win today, Brazil or Belgium? Okay, I have no idea, but I'm gonna say Brazil. Why not? Based on nothing, based on just answering something. Flashcards can be entertaining. It should be entertaining. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just all those years carrying around flashcards in our pockets and just going through them. And the hardest part was just drawing up the flashcards. And the one thing I've never done, which I always meant to do, was have an online portal where people could go through and create their own lessons. And it was just, we actually did something. This was one of the failures that we had in the past, where we had it was a Corona app, and we were doing it in XML. Because I'd asked, because it was an Indian company that did it, not a disparaging way, just like they happened to be a company in India, and they were just like, it was like your first game. They said, oh yeah, we could do it, and I think they were learning on the job. So I said, I could give you the data. Do you think it's better to do it in XML or in JSON? And they said XML. And even to this day, I have no idea why they said that, because like JSON was native to, like Corona, it was so easy to convert from JSON to a Lua table and back again. And in XML, they had all these libraries that would parse everything. And so we had this bit in there where people could go in and create their own lessons in the app rather than have a website, and they could record the words and type it in and everything. The problem is that because they were foreign languages, a lot of the characters would break the XML, right? Because they weren't even encoding them before they put them into the XML, and it was resulting in a blank screen. And it was just like, I couldn't fix it remotely. I just say uninstall it and reinstall it, and it was just nasty. So in the end, I just removed that from all of them, and it was it's one of the things I just never got around to doing. But I think it would be really beneficial, especially for that. Let's see. Ujawal says, what's your internet speed? I don't know, is it slow? Is it running too slow? I'm in an office and it's pretty good. I think it's like a 60 megabyte per second upload speed, usually. I'm not sure what it is right now. So, cool. Is that it? Have we answered all the questions? All right, cool. Hey guys, thanks very much for showing up today. We'll do this again next week. Thank you very much to everybody. Thanks to Mega Man and Rifat and Surf Topics for the donations. I really appreciate that. Maybe I will go out and have a beer tonight. Yeah, we'll see. And thanks everybody for watching the daily videos. So far I've only recorded one for tomorrow. We'll try to do some more. If you guys have any topics you'd like me to cover, just go ahead and ask. A lot of times people ask for things and I've already done it. Oh, hey Sandeep, how's it going? So a lot of times people ask for topics that I've already done a video on, and I I mean, I don't mind doing the topic over again, especially if it's something like how much money do you make. Occasionally, I'll do that just to show you where things are now. But if I don't think it's going to be interesting, like it's kind of the same as it was last time, then I probably won't. So let's see. You have the necessary degree, mate. Degree. So let's see. Oh, Brian O'Shaughnessy. Let me just see some of my app's slot machine games. I sometimes wonder if it is better to leave them rated 12 plus or rate them as 18 plus and turn the AdMob 18 plus adverts on. What do you think? From what I've heard, is the 18 plus ads are going to be, they're going to pay better, right? So, and the fact that it's a slot machine game, maybe should do that. I would say give it a try. I mean, you take one. I mean, if you have a lot of them, I think you should take one of them and do that. Just to try it out and see what the RPMs and the ECPMs are on that. See if you get more for that. Because if that really works, I've done the same thing. I think my biggest app, Ear Agent, is rated 3 plus, right? And and I know some people have said they've gotten their apps banned because the AdMob it contradicts it or something, right? Which when I go through and when you do the content rating, I'm not thinking about what the ads might be. So I think I have all those switched off in the app, but but you can't tell. There's no way to know. Unless you download, check your app every day from every country, which is not possible. Let's see. Oh, I studied history. Yeah, I did study history. So yeah, it's me and the education thing, I think is something that I love learning things, and and for me, like, the idea of learning Morse code would always appeal to me. I never have. I took a course on sign language because I thought it would be really cool in university, and I like the idea of learning things. But I think that the mobile applications and just software in general can make things easier. And you talk about a lot of the educational software out there, it's just kind of boring and dull because it's made by educators. So I mean, one of the things I wanted to do early on, and I kept coming back to this one, I wanted to have something like a blood and gore educational game, something that was just totally inappropriate for students. So something like math, like death math or something like that. Or, it was zombie typing. I did like a spec of one called zombie typing, and I wanted to have one where it's a typing game where you can learn to type better on your phone, but then like you have zombies approaching you, and then if you don't type fast enough, or if you type fast enough, their heads explode or something like that. I want to have something really bloody and just like completely different than other stuff that was out there. Not teddy bears and whatever's out, the pandas and stuff. Something just completely different. But we never did that. So let's see. What else we got? So yeah. I studied history. I'd like to see an in-depth Firebase review. Yeah, we should do that. We should look at Firebase in more depth. I think it's always improving. Now they've got the ML kit, which I've not explored, but from what I understand, ML kit, when I looked into it, they have out-of-the-box stuff like face recognition, object recognition, stuff that they've already had the pre-trained machine language stuff for, which I think is TensorFlow Lite. But of course you can do your own and upload it to it, but I haven't done anything with that, and it would be fantastic. Sandeep says, Apple is scanning source code. I submitted Chupa mobile game in fresh App Store account and got a 4.3 rejection. Yeah, that 4.3 is really starting. I mean, it's like it's the small guys that are suffering from it. I mean, like, you talk about all the Angry Bird versions out there and all the Candy Crush type games. They're very similar to each other, and I'm pretty sure they're not getting 4.3 rejections, right? Because they're the cash cow for Apple. So, I'm so fed up. I'm so fed up with 4.3. Maddie JY2K. Sorry, I'm gonna keep answering the questions. Okay. Hopefully releasing my first app to the App Store within a couple of months, but I'm a bit clueless as there are big mistakes that I should watch out for. Yeah, I mean, you'll do it. I mean, the nice thing about the App Store is that they won't just ban you, right? They'll just keep rejecting you until you just say, all right, what do I got to do? You just do what you got to do and get it live, right? And you just got to get it past the goalie. It's a topical thing to say. History plus apps, foundation for a great game developer. Yeah, history not so much. It's like, I would have been a terrible history teacher when I think about it. Plus insights about language. Yeah, cool. All right, hey everybody, thanks very much for showing up today. I'm gonna wrap this up again. I'm sorry if I'm sweating profusely. Whew. I'm cooking in my own juices, like I said. So that's thanks everyone for showing up today. We'll do this again next week if you want to show up. And we haven't looked at any apps today either. That's surprising. And thanks everyone for watching the videos each week. I hope they don't get too boring. If they do get too boring, just tell me. Tell me in the comments. Eric, this one was a bit crap today. I'll understand, and we'll do all that. And Rodrigo, thanks for your insights on that. One of the things, yeah, about the scam stuff. I think that's one of the big things. Every time you see anybody who talks about apps, this is one of the reasons why I don't like this is one of the reasons why I don't ask for things. I don't ask for money. I don't have a course. I don't have anything like that. Is because I don't want to be lumped into that. But then sometimes I think we should do a course. We should do something rather than have the daily video. Nobody's going to watch every daily video, so maybe we should have something that's more condensed. And we can have it like as a course you could purchase or something like that. But at the same time, I don't want to be the person who, you know, the app guru, the false gurus, all that kind of stuff. So cool. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks everybody. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Taking this blindfold off to see what this life's all about. Through my virtues to the